Go.
Is that how this Tuesday is going?
Yeah. Yeah. I woke up very enthusiastic. Very enthusiastic. Not enthusiastic. Very happy.
Oh,
Happy.
cute. Good. That's
I
a
woke
nice
up
way to wake up.
excited. I don't even really know what's in store today. I have a couple things on my schedule going to the new space. If anybody wants to drop in and say hi, feel free to do that. Hit me up. Welcome to the
You know that
Ashes
you're
to Rubies
talking
podcast.
to like an audience of people that could be anywhere.
No one's jumped on. Yeah, that's true. What I was thinking about earlier this morning when my alarm went off, I'm in a non-working out phase. I think it's just a phase, but I've taken a break and I've had some issues with like my bones and structure. And I'm like, I think my body just needs a break. And then I'm like, then I worry. I go into like, maybe the vaccine is eating my ligaments. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I can go down weird holes. And then I'm like, my friend just told me it's okay for your body to take a break. And then what I thought of, I don't do breaks well. I don't do healthy breaking. And so I realized this morning that I need to do something and not work out necessarily, but do some sort of activity in the morning. So I was thinking stretching or taking up limbo dancing or...
Can anyone else relate to not doing breaks well?
Breaks. Yeah.
What does that look
taking
like?
timeouts. What does that look like?
What does that look like for you?
Eating cookies, eating ice cream, going to Nana's for butter tarts because we're on break. I'm letting my ligaments heal. But I think that, do you have in your repertoire of your Beachbody people, your coaches, do you have like stretching?
Oh yeah.
Like stretching exercise, like stretching, like you just go down there for a half hour, 15 minute.
Mm-hmm.
I like 5-minute stretches. Do you have a 5-minute stretch?
Mostly 20.
20.
There's some
20
minutes. There's some 10-minute ones.
What do you stretch? Like your neck to your toes?
Yep.
Yeah. The full body.
Controlled stretching.
Do you do a what's that called? A roller? What are they called?
There are some foam
rollers. I have one. I got it for Christmas. It's downstairs. It has not been rolled. I don't feel like I have the body type for foam rolling. I don't really know what the body type is, but I'm pretty sure I don't have. I might break something, and it won't be the foam roller, or it could be the foam roller. But I think I want to implement that, and I think I'll feel like a better person for that. And I want to have a break that's like a stretching break, not a butter tart break. Yeah.
So when you start to think things, do you think them for like a while before you act on them?
Yeah, like I've been thinking about this a while, and like maybe it's a little bit promoted by guilt of like being like I'm sleeping in a little bit more in the mornings, and I'm just enjoying the mornings a little bit more without like the early workout and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm on break, but I want to add something physical to my break.
As opposed to like an unhealthy break, which you're very familiar with, an unhealthy break.
I know how to do that well.
We often feel like we deserve a break.
If anybody wants to know how to do like, not like smoking crack and drinking alcohol kind of break, which I've had those.
Your old break?
Yeah, those are... I remember how fragile it was in early recovery. I remember when my son got in trouble in grade 5, and I thought it was like this huge injustice. And I have problems with vice principals to begin with. And like my son wasn't heard, and he's got to stay home, and he wasn't even like... So all I remember is the injustice. Somebody has to look after this boy for 3 days at home. The school's not taking any responsibility. I just can't handle this. I need a break. And so I went up to the pub and had beer. And then 2 days later, I came home. What a break. Blew off some steam.
Yeah.
The life of...
That was a real break.
Early recovery was a real break.
Dealing with a suspended child and
no papa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, early recovery is very hard because our breaks, the go-tos, that mental obsession says that I'll just have one or two and I just need a little blow off steam. But when you have the physical issue that I have, it produces a craving for more, and there's no way to stop it.
So you don't typically just eat one butter tart?
I wouldn't say that I love a butter tart, but I can eat one a day for breakfast and dinner.
All right, should we read?
My friend brought donuts the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many of the donuts did you
I
have?
ate 1.5
And
and a
then?
bite of another one.
That was a half of
I
a donut
feel like
that you're calling a bite.
I feel like I'm projecting on people that are watching. You're making everybody feel uncomfortable, including myself. So keep your donut talk over on that side of the room. All right. Just kidding. It's okay. Is it the 9th?
No, I think it's the 8th.
Uh-oh. Okay. It's the 8th. Okay, you're reading. You are the even numbers. I am the odd numbers. Welcome to our morning meditation, life and recovery, and so much more. We are going to have an idea, a concept of a reading, and then we'll take it throughout the day.
Okay. When my heart and mind were filled with discouragement, there was no room for concern for others. Daily, I tormented myself, thinking in circles, deciding first on one desperate measure, then another. There was no air, no breathing space between me and my problems. We were entangled and confused. I could see nothing straight and clear. Nothing was revealed in its true colors, only the flaming red of constant hysteria and apprehension. To have found a way out of my thinking, this kind of thinking is a miracle in itself. I found that miracle in the program. My own problems were brought into focus by relating them to those of others. I found I could give some thought and compassion to them, and then I began to have peace of mind. Today's reminder: it is the sharing of experience and hope that makes our recovery connections so important to us. Every time we read something about how the program works, every time we attend a meeting or talk with a fellow member by telephone, we grow in serenity and strength. Quote for today: let me accept all the rich comfort available to me in this way of life, for I know it can help me in all life's trials. I think we've really seen that so we have our noon recovery meeting on Wednesdays. It's open to like any issue of any kind.
If you're a person, it's open to you.
Yeah, pretty much. And even people who haven't really don't really understand recovery or relate with addiction.
Yeah.
So because in LifeLab we realized that we have been searching for solutions and tripping over the same problems over and over and over, and so we want to clean up that mess. And so it's been interesting because we have different experiences, and yet the people who come, they're hearing other people share about their experience, and then they think, oh, that really relates to me. So we have like an alcoholic, a food addict, a drug addict, a sex addict,
People that are just
someone who's
investigating.
just is like, I don't know what the problem is. I just know that I need something. And so sometimes they'll realize like, oh, I've really been running on like controlling the world around me.
Mhm.
And
when what they're talking about is like having your mind so full, like of a circus and a zoo and a carnival all at the same time, and it's like you have no room for thinking about anything else. It's like everything is heightened, everything is exaggerated, everything's a problem, and it's hard to live. Like it said, like I related to that. There's no breathing room, and so when my mind's going 100 miles an hour, that's what I need a break from. It's funny that we talked about that at the beginning, but that's what I need the break from. And then I go to unhealthy sources because my mind is outside of the love of God. And so I'm not receiving God's peace of mind because I get my peace from God. And so I have to be connected to his spirit to get the peace that he can only give. Otherwise, I'm getting peace out of a donut. And my friend Megan, she had 2 donuts. So thank you, Megan. I had 1.5, aka 1 3/4. But I don't want to keep going to something that gives me a sense of peace, because it is a sense of peace. And if I keep doing that, then how can God give me his peace?
Yeah, I think that sometimes the groups and meetings and that kind of thing can be uncomfortable. It's a stretch for a lot of us to put ourselves into those kind of situations. But I really appreciate what it's given me.
One of my favorite joys, and I love like understanding my cast of characters and like having the theatrical play that we sometimes get to engage in. But I love it when you explain what has been in your head for, like, that's one of my favorite things, when you can articulate what's in my head. This has been bothering me and it makes me feel so less crazy. I'm like, oh wow, that's what you have to deal with.
Brene Brown calls it, she'll often start by saying the story that I tell myself is, and then she'll go into, and it's true. Like I've recognized the stories that I tell myself. And so I make up this whole like narrative of something. And then I'm like, I can make myself crazy over it, which is not what happened this morning. This morning, I just knew that there was a bit of a story that I was telling myself. And I knew that, like, why don't you just ask him? And then trying to ask like further questions. Okay, so what does that look like for you? Oh, you did your due diligence. What does that look like for you? What does due diligence look like for you? And then you're like, oh, well, I did this and this. I'm like, oh yeah, that is due diligence. Like,
And
good job.
just because like, I think it's so much freeing when we understand ourselves and how we're working. And that's what LifeLab gives us. That's what the program gives us, is this ability to be able to observe ourselves. It doesn't like take everything away. And I think that's God's gift. That 2% that could potentially kill us, it stays with us.
Right.
And if we let that run the show, then that's where we run into this and we go right into our addictions at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, my friends.
So tomorrow at noon Eastern, we have a meeting, a LifeLab recovery meeting.
One of my favorite speakers
anyone
talking, Joanne.
Yeah, her topic is called Uncommon Sense.
Uncommon sense. Who can relate to that? So, all right. Have yourself a great donut today. I mean, have yourself a great day today. Try not keep the peace, be of good behavior. We'll see you tomorrow.